Chrissy's mic for the live mic. Let me kind of explain things. Over the last 2 weekends, we had retreats, and they're called chrysalis. And they're retreats for girls and boys from 15 to 24 years old. And we had, on one weekend, we had, and Kristen didn't make it. So, is she here? No, okay. Anyway, we had a girl go one weekend, and then we had Trey go as a participant on the second weekend. And on the second weekend, on the boys' weekend, Eric was the leader of the weekend. He was what they call the lay director, and he was that. And we had, I guess there's 9, 10 of us that served on that weekend. And this is a retreat in order to get everybody, young people, to draw closer to God, to find their walk. And so it's a great thing that we participated in for years. On the girls' weekend, I guess Keandra's the only one here that served on that team. The rest that served aren't here this morning. So, but what we try to do is make sure that we have a testimony after a weekend so that everybody can share their experiences, bring it back to the church, and be a part of it. And we're doing things. God's working and God's moving in a mighty way. Did we get the live going, BJ? Okay. All right. So I want to be sure, because this going out, that we can share it with others, to be a part of this, to be a part of what God's doing. And I'll share my testimony in a little while, but Eric was the leader of it. And I want him to go first this morning, and whoever wants to go next, however, we'll let him pass the mic. And let me brag on Eric. Eric came to this church, I guess he was 14 or 13. 13, okay. And he came into the church because his parents forced him to this church, this little storefront church that their next door neighbor recommended. And his dad walked in the door the first time that I met his dad. He came here to find out what was wrong with us. He came to sit in the judgment seat and judge what was wrong with our church, because that's what he did to churches. And all these years later, Eric is still a part of us. He wasn't going to do anything. And I got video proof of Eric growing through the years through dramas and, interpretive dances and preaching and teaching and sharing. He can't deny what God's done in his life. And he started out, he wasn't exactly forced, but he was certainly coerced, along with Bo and BJ, to go on their first chrysalis weekend all those years ago. And he's grown through every step, going back and serving after the first weekend until he moved and did everything to where he was the leader of a weekend as an adult. And that's awesome. As pastor, to watch his growth and to be able to witness that and to see the impact that he's had on the community and the leadership that he's did, it was awesome. And I want y'all just to give Eric a hand as he comes to testify.
All right, so I guess Bo started the modeling of how we're going to introduce ourselves when we go up here. So I'm going to continue it for all those that are going to be coming up here testifying. My name's Eric Kovac, or Sasquatch. I went on Chrysalis Flight 66, where I sat at the table. Please excuse me, I need to use the restroom. Worship and serve at Full Life Church in Villa Rica, Georgia. There we go. And this past weekend, I was the lay director on Flight 106. Oh yeah, and on that weekend, sat at the table of Bigfoot and the Twinkle Toes. Oh man, whew. This weekend was it was something else. It was one of those things where, I had already been told at some point that, I think by Bill Creech it was like, you're gonna be lay director really soon, and it's like, are you sure? I'm just because when he told me that it's right before COVID happened, and I pretty much just turned 25 around that time. So just so I'm an adult and just so pretty much I'm qualified in a way age-wise to be lay director. And it's like, are you sure about this? I know I've served a bunch, but are you sure about this? I'm still kind of young, really. And so the years came, and happened, and flights got postponed back to back to back. It finally picked up again last year, and that's when I was asked. And so it was supposed to happen back in January instead of happening last week. And God's timing, God's hand has 100% been on the entire thing. Every part that I ever doubted, maybe God's not, God's got this, but maybe I'm doing something wrong here. Did I ask the wrong person to do this, etc. But the spirituals that we had there were meant to be there. The servants that we had were meant to be there. All those that ended up dropping because either work or some circumstance, wild circumstance popped up out of nowhere. They weren't able to make it anymore. I was it's like kind of got me down because the head spiritual at the time that was supposed to be on there was John Baker. He's one of the spirituals that I've really, we bonded really fast. And I was real excited because it was his first time being head spiritual, and something popped up with him not be able to serve because it was I think Henry County. There was some sort of change that happened in leadership because he's a fire chief battalion or battalion chief, and he wasn't able to make it. I was real bummed. I was like, are you kidding me? I was so excited for him to be head spiritual and be here, because he has a passion for the youth. And so ended up asking Pastor Bill Harris, PB, to be head spiritual, and he said yes. And one of my other spirituals ended up having to drop because he's moving up into a different position at his church, because he was the youth director or youth pastor there, and he's moving up into one of the adult roles up there. I can't remember the actual title of it. And I was bummed for that too, because he's a youth pastor. He has a passion for the youth. He loves the youth. People, the youth always rave about him afterwards because he's fun. He's awesome. He has a great story. He relates to him real well. And so I was bummed again. But thankfully at that time I had 6 spirituals, which is like unheard of. Like really, it was unheard of because and one of them was it was going to be outside, so it wasn't going to be in the conference room. He was going to handle the team stuff, and so we ended up having to move him in. But his talk was meant for the weekend. The God Loves You talk was absolutely necessary, meant for the weekend. It was powerful. It was amazing. And then PB ended up taking over 2 talks, and it was meant for him to give those 2 talks instead of the ones he was supposed to, instead of the one that Jason Scott was supposed to. And it was an amazing weekend from the very beginning to the very end. Caterpillars, when the participants come in, they're never talkative. They come in, they're shy, they're holding, like they see their little groups or whatever. And the first group that came there were a group of 5 boys that came from Florida, and I'd heard stories about them and how on fire for God they are, and I'm like, okay, yeah, that's everyone that comes here for the most part, that it's in their youth group. But man, were they on fire. From the very beginning, they came in, introduced, and the other youth, I guess youth leader, youth minister, whatever his title is there. It's like, oh yeah, this is Sasquatch. I've been telling you about him. And they're like, Sasquatch! And it was like, and it was just a whole bunch, and from that moment on, that set how the weekend was going to go. They were the first ones there, and as more caterpillars came in, they were introducing themselves, coming in, shaking hands, hugging them, starting conversations with them. And they went off. They left their own group to go to other people to welcome them in, and that never happens ever. I don't think I've ever seen it happen before. I mean, we might have a couple that are like real on fire and talk to everyone else, not shy, but to have them go to the other caterpillars and talk to them from the very beginning was incredible. And so that was the way that we started the weekend, and it kept going from there. There's some, unfortunately, a hiccup. It's a caterpillar that was forced to be there. Bless him. No, but the good news is with him is that he said that he was talking to Bill Creech, our board rep there, that maybe I want to come back in January when it's on my terms, and that made me real happy because he was forced to be there and bummed me out that because that's something I talked about so often. It's like, don't force people to go. It's not always for everyone. If it is for I feel like everyone could get something out of it, but it has to be for them to go. It has to be their time to go. And he was forced to go, but we showered him in love. Made sure he was comfortable, made sure whatever we could, and it was amazing to see the team, the kitchen, the chapel. Gus Walls, who was in the dorms, had a real passion for the boy, and it was amazing to see the team come together and show love to someone that very much so didn't want to be there. And it blessed my heart to know that that love is so present and so available in the Chrysalis community. I guess Chrysalis and Advance community, really. But and I think it was Saturday, right before the big event. I'm not going to say it. Please, no one that knows what I'm talking about, talk about it. But we started singing Gratitude. It was the first time Gratitude had been sung the entire weekend. And Gratitude for me has always been a song that's resonated with me. It's because of the bridge. And it's the bridge that, come on my soul, don't you get shy on me. I still am, not quite as bad, terribly shy, especially when it comes to talking to new people. I have a real hard time about doing it. Going to someone, because I could hear God say, go talk to them. It's like, I don't know, God, I don't know. I'm real bad shy when it comes to that kind of stuff. And that song, coming up, and we started singing the bridge, and I'm feeling the Spirit get all over me, and I'm seeing the caterpillars just standing there. They're singing, they're just saying, they're not really not getting into it. And I finally listened to Don't You Get Shy on Me. I got there and said, guys, you might not guess it, with me being the leader of the weekend, how much talking I've done, how I've gone up to pretty much all of you I talked, I'm terribly shy. And this song right here always gets me on fire because, it's God calling us to don't get shy. To get on fire, go out and spread the word and sing out. Just do whatever God's telling you. Don't get shy. And they're like, if you don't believe you Sasquatch, no way you're shy. It's like, believe it. And so I looked over at Head Music and said, play that song again. Play that bridge again. We're going to sing that. And the entire atmosphere in that room changed. And I think that's when the song became the song of the weekend. Because they just all got into it immediately. Arms went around each other, and they really started. That's when I think it became worship for them instead of just singing and praising. And it blessed me to see that they all started getting up and doing it. And they come candlelight, and they're all on fire up there again. Every other time we sang that song, they were all on fire, arms around each other's shoulders, singing, swaying back and forth, and just worshiping, not just praising. But the weekend was everything I'd wanted to be and more. Because I really had my doubts there for a while after it got canceled in January. We had no caterpillars, and then water pipe busted and froze and busted and flooded the entire conference room, chapel area, and all that. I didn't know how bad it was. I was talking to one of the guys up there. Apparently, it was 6 inches high. It was real bad flooded. And so I'm like, okay, God, no. I get it, postponed. We'll see what happens. And so the weekend happened. And of course, it was amazing. And the chapel time was awesome. Chapel time on Friday is always powerful because it's when we're doing one of the heart burning, or I guess heart nailing ceremony, which is real powerful. But Saturday is always when they're all on fire and everyone's ready to get up and talk and praise and pray for people and worship. And I think we had probably about a 2-hour prayer session in there when people were just going around praying for each other. But we got done, one of the guys that's been serving there for a while got up, got prayed over, and PB immediately afterwards said, there's someone here called for ministry. And right then and there, I I knew that was God telling me it's time. It's been time, but I finally said, no, God, I'm going to step into it. I'm finally jumping feet first into it instead of just walking on the shores. And that night, right there, I finally accepted my calling of doing, I guess really the fivefold ministry of you prophesied over me. And so I've finally taken it seriously. I've stepped into it. I'll be looking into everything I got to do. But, I'm done just walking around the sides and, doing a message here and there. And, this is my calling, but, I'm not ready for it yet. And it's 10 years been fighting it, if not longer. But I finally stepped into it, and my mom was talking to Libby at closing, and apparently they just said something along the lines of, I really feel like this is a jumping point, a springboard. And my mom, like 5 minutes later, I came with my mom. I was talking to her, and I said, I finally accepted my calling, accepted my ministry, and she about fell out. it was awesome. She looked at me and said, over at Libby, said, not 5 minutes ago. That was a jumping point for me. Chrysalis, I grow every time I go, no matter what position I'm serving in. But this time, it's finally accepted it. But the blessing I had was just the Caterpillars this whole weekend. Watching the team shower them with love, watch them grow even more so. The ones that were already on fire for God, just ignite even more. And those ones that were kind of reserved, coming out of their shell, and for them to show each other love when they're all complete strangers, made my heart happy. And watch them do their little skits, their songs, and interpretive dances. It was an incredible time there. I don't want to trade it for anything. And I think it's about it for me.
I'm Joshua Collins. We're on North Georgia Christmas Flight 104. We're outside of a table of ramen lentil explosion. Love beans. I worship and serve at Full Life Church in Rica. Here. Yeah. And this past weekend, I served as a kitchen dude. I don't know. I was in the kitchen most of the time. And when caterpillars were in the kitchen, just nonstop moving around, serving and all that. So, I didn't really get to see a whole lot of what the caterpillars were doing, but I can tell you when at opening or snack or whatever, whatever it was, had the meatballs. Send off, yeah. Send off. I set it all up. I don't even know what it's called. At send off, I remember sitting next to the tray and just, he was somewhat talking with people around him, but still being Trey, still being to himself. And at one point during the weekend, I was in the servants' den, which is next to the conference room. If you don't know that, you know that now. And I could hear them singing gratitude, and I did what I'm not supposed to do, and I poked my head in to the conference room, and every single one of the caterpillars were just in a line down the middle of the conference room, just arms on each other, swaying and singing, including Trey, which has said many times, I don't sing. He was singing. And at the big event, Trey was also singing, which they sing gratitude, and as a servant, you're not supposed to sing with them because it's supposed to be their gift to you. It took every muscle in my body to just stand there and take it. I wanted to run around, wanted to jump around, wanted to sing. It just took everything to not. Um, if there was any opportunity to volunteer for something so I could skit, I immediately said I'll do it, no matter what it was, whether it was playing an animal and getting tackled, or, huh? I wasn't supposed to get tackled, and he just came up. He ran up and just grabbed my neck, and yeah. Um, um, so being an animal and getting tackled, to wearing a red tank top and red shorts and a pink swim cap and leading synchronized swimming. um, so I just any spot where I could volunteer, I volunteered. I prayed in the chapel, made him cry. The prayer chapel. Yeah. So yeah, just anywhere I could volunteer, I volunteered. I feel like I have more to say, but I don't know what to say. I don't remember the question. Meant a lot. I enjoyed serving. Serving in the kitchen was okay. Don't want to do it next flight. I'll do it probably a couple flights later, but don't want to do it so close together. It was just a lot. I mean, it's just, I don't know. Am I allowed to say who the next letter director is? Okay, cool. For the next flight, the later director is gonna be Eric Glick. Me and Chase already spoke to him, and we are either going to be in the chapel or dorm. And I immediately told him, wherever Chase is, I'm in the other, cause Chase spent the night at my house Wednesday night, so he had to ride to King's Retreat Thursday. So Wednesday night, all day Thursday, all day Friday, all day Saturday, and the majority of Sunday, we were tired of each other. Yeah. I never said we didn't fight. Saturday was eventful. That's all I got to say. But yeah, the past 2 weeks I had band camp, and I got permission from Mr. Goodson, band director, to miss Thursday and Friday of last week. Well, last week, 2 weeks ago. However you want to look at the calendar and say it. And I was concerned that I was gonna miss something important and be far behind everyone. I wasn't. That was definitely a God thing, because they did a lot Thursday and Friday. They went over new music. They started setting drill, they started something else. I don't remember what it was, but and I come back Monday and it was I've never really set drill before, and it was like the easiest thing. Like it was hard, but it was like as if I've done it before, and I haven't really done it before. Yeah, God did it. So yeah, yeah. Who's next? I'm gonna give it to this short guy over here.
Hey, you want your ring back? Keep giving it to me. All right. Hey guys. All right, for those who were there, hey guys. Thank you. All right. My name is Austin Orr. I went on North Georgia Chrysalis flight number 90, where I sit at the table of the staff of Moses. I worship and serve at Full Life Church in Villa Rica. And I was pleased as punch to be the youth ALD this flight. Let me tell you guys something about Chrysalis whenever we do claps, okay? Or at least on guys' flights. Once I'm going to say the last bit, and we all in unison do one clap. So I was pleased as punch to be the youth ALD. Beautiful, beautiful. This flight was a journey. Like Eric said, we went through the ringer. From having an original team that was stocked full when the girls' team was, struggling to get people, to out of nowhere, a pipe bursting, multiple rooms being flooded. Me and the other music guy at the time, we got news that the nice grand piano in the chapel was destroyed from the water, and we were distraught. Clearly being because we both play the instrument. And among other things, but we'll get to that in a second. So, like I said, going from there to going to 2 weeks before having 4 caterpillars, a week before having 8, and then it was, I think, 10, and then it hopped up to 14, and right at the last second, 15 caterpillars. Was absolutely amazing. I mean, you cannot say that God doesn't exist because coincidences like that don't just happen. I'll tell you what, when it first started with all this, I was super excited. Like Bo mentioned, I was the head music. I was super excited. I finally got a chance to do it. I had been on the music team before, all this stuff, and I was like, oh, this is great. I get to lead this. This is going to be so much fun, And then we had people drop. And I tried my hardest to double duty. I really did. But the board agreed that I shouldn't. And so I went over to Youth ALD. But I'll tell you what, that's a God thing. Because I was blessed beyond recognition to be your Youth ALD, Eric. It was a good time. Just so you guys know, I am the guy that made up the name for our table. I was one of the Twinkle Toes. Right there. No, I don't want to say all the same things other people have said. It was an amazing sight to see that when these caterpillars showed up, they were, going up to each other. Hey, my name's such and such. How are you? Hey, my name's such and such. How are you? The fact that we didn't have to work at all to get them to kind of mingle in any way was an absolutely amazing sight. I even got shy, which we know nowadays I'm not very shy. I used to be. I even got shy when it came to talking to them because they were so overtly like, hey, how are you? I was like, hey, how's it going? Good Good to meet you, man. How you doing? I'm Austin. I'll see you later, I guess. Um, matter of fact, I think I walked out of the room at some point. I was like, this is insane. But we could really see from these um, happily rambunctious boys coming in, we could visibly see the change in their heart and in their minds and in their spirit throughout the weekend. With every day, with everything, with every event, you could see the focus just kind of dial in on what they were there for and what they wanted out of the weekend. And that was an absolutely amazing sight. What else was there? This weekend, what it taught me was I had already known that I loved to serve. But this weekend, I got to give my favorite talk. I'm not going to go into detail about it because don't anticipate for people who haven't been. I got to give my favorite talk. I got to give the last talk of the weekend, which is not only an honor, but of course it has a little bit of stress as well. You know, you've had all these big time preachers like Johnny Hightower getting up and sharing, and no, I'm just thinking, and all this, and you gotta get up and share yours, No, but it was great, and I always love being able to tell people. I don't think this is a spoiler. I always love being the guy to tell people at the end, all the caterpillars at the end, hey, you do know that everybody who's helped you and served paid to do this. That's something that hit me hard on my flight. And I always like seeing their faces when they realize that the people who clean the toilets behind them paid to be there and do that. It reminds me of Jesus getting down and not only washing the disciples' feet, but also the other account where he used his hair and washed feet, with expensive perfume. I think, was that not Jesus? Did I mess that up? It was Mary. I don't know why I thought it was Jesus, but you're right. It was Mary. She did. That's where I got it wrong. Sorry, guys. Switched them up. Anyways, it just reminds me of the account of those things where you can literally be, as vulnerable as possible in that moment, and do the things that servants are meant to do. And that, it blesses me every single time. Like I said, what I shared as the example for the questions for the guys was that I already knew that I loved to serve, but coming back here to King's Retreat shows me how much I love to serve. I don't care to be in the spotlight. I don't really care to be the person that's talking. There's a reason I stay behind a piano a lot of the times. But I just love to see these people grow in their faith, and to say that God used me in that way. And what am I going to do about it? Of course, I'm going to go back to serve. I've only been doing it for years. And I can't wait. Can't wait to get that phone call from Eric Glick. I've told him I'm ready. Doesn't matter where you put me. I'll clean the toilets. It does not bother me. But I am, like I said, pleased as much to go back. And I hope to see these new guys back there too. That's all. All right, Trey.
I'm Trey Treese. Man, I was on flight 106, Yak 83. Sat at the table of the testimony of the traveling toddlers. And I don't know what else to say about that part, but the weekend it was different. It was really different. It was kind of what I expected, but not entirely. And one of the things that we did, we were praying in the chapel, and as soon as Eric looked right into my soul, like he was just staring into me, he was like, it's time to accept being a worship leader. Because for what, 5 years since I've been here, it's been just me jumping up on the platform, just grabbing a guitar and just playing, instead of going further into detail and to actually be on that next level. And that stuck with me the rest of the weekend. And the whole week, I've been thinking about that the whole entire time. I haven't put down my guitar, man. Like, my hand is still shaking from this morning. And wow. Just seeing all those faces, just praying, and we're in there for what, 3 hours tops, maybe more. Yeah, we were praying for hours. We started like 8 or 9, and then we didn't get out until like 1. Something like that. Something like, it felt like it. It felt like it. And that was the time. Okay. It was a guesstimate. That's what it felt like. But we were in there for a while. And some guys, they were praying in Spanish, and that was the first time that I ever heard somebody pray in Spanish and I understood them. And it just, I don't know. I don't know what to say. I have no idea. It's just the first time that I've ever heard that just in person. It's like, oh, you get on Facebook and you hear people, speaking Spanish, and you're not used to hearing people speaking Spanish, because there's many different dialects. But this time I understood it completely, and it was just, I'm not that good with Spanish, but I do understand it, and it just kind of like threw me off. Yeah, there was just a lot of weird things that happened that night. Different things, and not weird, but different. Me not being used to it. And taught me not to really just judge anybody, just to kind of just go in with open arms and an open heart. That's what I got from the weekend. And I'm going to continue doing what Eric, And after the weekend, I was dealing with a lot of family stuff. I'm not going to get into details, but it's the same before the weekend. And before the weekend, I was dealing with just a lot of depression, just feeling, empty inside. And I sat down for about 4 or 5 hours just praying before the weekend. And after the weekend, nothing changed at my house. And I'm just tired of feeling that emptiness. But the first time that I felt kind of whole is through the flight. A long time. I'm only 22. I've felt abandoned my whole life. but I know I wasn't. It just felt like it because I was always the bad guy in the family. This is the testimony, correct? So, most of y'all don't know this. I'm the middle child of 5. First one to drop out of high school. First one to do drugs. First one to get arrested. First one to smoke a cigarette in my house. First one to drink a sip of liquor or any kind of alcohol. Quit smoking cigarettes after started when I was 12 or 13. I quit when I was 22. So almost 10 years, something like that. And quit in, I believe, April-ish. And lost where I was going with this. But I've started out from nothing. And then I went downhill from there. And then I'm climbing up the hill. I don't really talk much in front of anybody, and it kind of threw me for a curveball this morning when I got the word that we were going to be doing testimonies and everything. I was not prepared. And it just, I was always the bad guy growing up. I was the one that got blamed because I was middle child, and I was also the oldest son. So there was a lot of pressure on me just being the oldest son in general, but then being the middle child made it worse. And I don't know how to really go into detail about that, but I guess I won't. And what got me away from doing all the bad things in my life, it was guitar. When I was, probably 14 or 15 or so, my grandfather passed away. A couple of weeks before he passed away, we were up in Kentucky. That's where my family and I are from. And I was sitting in his kitchen because I just got a guitar and I was so excited to show him that I was learning how to play a little bit. And then he told me one day, I want to hear you play. Well, his physical ears did not hear that. He passed away. Three weeks later, that was the saddest time of my life. So about 7 years later, Eric looked me right into my soul and he was like, take charge. Do what you know what you gotta do. Because I've been praying about it for at least 4 or 5 months since I started coming back after I dealt with some personal things. Eric looked right into my soul and he knew exactly what I was going through. Because it wasn't him that was praying. And it just sent me down a backtracking from my memory about all that had been going on here lately. And it just hit home. I had to explain it, and every time I start talking about it, I cry. every time that somebody looks at me, they think of, I don't know, not a crier at least. I don't know, but I don't know what else to say.
Named Gary Johnson, went on flight North Georgia walk to Emmaus number 92, sat at the table of Luke. Serve and worship, me and my wife at Full Life Church.
Yeah, you do.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyway, served in the kitchen. And Joshua, to serve in the kitchen, you gotta be tough, buddy. You gotta be tough. I'm telling you. I've worked kitchen. I think this is the third or fourth time that I've served in kitchen. I've served in dorm, what it used to be called dorm. I think I've served in it once, I believe, best I remember. Dorm is a cakewalk, basically. It's clean the bathroom, make sure the toilet paper and all that stuff's up and all that good stuff, and you get breaks in it. We were getting up at 5:30 every morning, and it was usually 11:30, 12 o'clock at night before we go to bed. They did give me an agape. I got to sleep late one morning. I got up at 5:45. But it's to me, it's an honor and a privilege to be able to serve God's people. No regard how young they are, it doesn't matter. And Joshua, I'd work with you in the kitchen again, buddy. I'm proud of you because you did. He did do what he was asked to do. And I'm proud of him. I'm proud of Joshua. I really am. And I'd serve again next week. It doesn't matter to me. What's a little sleep? To see what God does. And didn't get to be with the caterpillars except maybe at the one meal. And that's okay. That's okay. Because we were busy. We were short-staffed in the kitchen, and we had to get stuff done, and that's the way it goes. And I know Eric was bummed about some of the people dropping out and all that good stuff, but we sang about this morning what really counts. That's trust God. Just about every song we sung this morning was about trust. And really, when it gets down to the ball of wax, it's about trust. It's about trust in your life, period. So we have to trust God on Christmas flights, that He knows how to weave and work His plan in our lives. And in our life, see, God, sometimes we plan. And we had a pretty good plan, Eric. You know, we went to the meetings and we discussed what was going to happen, what was going to take place, and all that stuff. But God says, not so fast. Not so fast. In every Christmas or Emmaus walk that I worked, God wins out. Every time. God wins out. Proud of Eric. I was there when he told his mama that he accepted his calling. it's just several years too. I ain't gonna say several years too late, Eric, 'cause I'm gonna tell you why. God's time is always perfect and on time. You might have fought with it for 10 years, you say. God knew when you was gonna give up. Do you understand? So God's time is right. Trey, proud of you, brother. I'm proud of this. I'm proud of this group of men that worked this Christmas light. And Trey, I'm the middle child of 5. And if you need to talk, I feel your pain, brother. Trust me, I do understand that because I understand. If you need to talk, just let me know, bud. Because I've been there, done that. I've got the T-shirt, the cuff, and the hat to go along with that. Love y'all. Love serving. And what can I say? It's in the kitchen. You've got it as I can't even remember the convenience says. Get her done. Get her done. And we got her done.
I'm Ryan. I went on flight 66 where I sat at our name went at the table of our name went down the drain, and I worship and serve at Full Life Church in Rica. And I was blessed beyond belief to be the adult table leader at the pearly gates on top of the mountain. And it truly was a blessing. And just to watch the kids come in, fired up, energized, and others coming in shy but still ready to have fun. And when the Florida boys come in, and I looked at Eric, I said, "Are you ready?" Because I looked at him and I said, "Oh, it's going to be a great weekend." Because instead of trying to get him to open up, we had to just a little bit. But because even when looked, he was like, "Oh, it's time to be serious." I said, "Yeah, but don't let that change the mood." Because it was just like, he's like, "Man, you're going to have to focus. Going to have to." I said, "Yeah, there's times, but don't lose that energy." And it was a great weekend. I had the one kid that went home early, and really glad that for the experience. And it was a little nerve-wracking, and I went through the motions of did I say the right things? Did I do the right things? And even though I knew the answers, it's still that feeling and thoughts were in my head, and great people around me to reassure me that the answers that I knew, and that and just it's okay. It's in God's hands, and it didn't hinder any of the spirit that was moving. When Eric first called me and said, "Hey, I want you to be," because he didn't ask if I was serving, he knew I was going to serve. So he was like, "Hey, so this flight, I want you to be an adult table leader." I said, "You sure you want to hang up, call me back, rethink it over?" He's like, "No, I think you're ready for it. I think you can do it. I think you'd be good for it." I said, "All right. Well, if you think I can, then I'll do it." He said, "Well, I also want you to give a talk." And I said, "Do what?" He He said, "I think it's the perfect talk for you. I think you got it." And I was like, "All right, I'll do the talk." And no, it's not the first time that I've spoke in front of people, but it was still. Oh, I was a nervous wreck. You would have thought it was my first time speaking in front of a classroom in school. It was, hey, Dad, do that. But it was a good talk. I did the pre-talk, and then we did. It got postponed, and I still needed to do some work on the talk and to fix a couple things. And then Eric kept asking me, he's like, "You ready?" Yeah, we'll go with that. And it was the night before I sat down and I rewrote the whole thing and went, "Okay, now I'm ready." Because I the whole time I sat down, I'm like, I need to write it. I can't think straight. I can't. It was just like, I'm gonna go with God on this one. And the night before I sat down, it was just like I typed it up and printed it out. It was just like, wow, okay. And it was good. And I along with the kids turned my phone off and was just like, I'm gonna go through it with them and get really disconnect to really focus on the kids and to really. And so I barely knew what time it was, just like them. I was just like, it's a time and a day, near, far, somewhere in between. And it was very touching and feeling. And the one night, Eric or someone was just like, "You need to go to sleep," and I was like, "Why? We got all night." He goes, "No, it's morning." And I was like, "Well, guess I go to sleep." But this watching the Spirit move and kids hearing the callings and realizing exactly how much they were loved and that they had people that they could turn to and lean on and really pull strength from, and really blessed group of people to serve with as well and be with. And it reinsured my faith, calling, drive that it really reinforced. And here lately, there's been a bunch of things that have been on my mind and heart to start doing here, and just in moving in a not really a different direction, but that new drive. And it was just, for some reason, I kept hearing this voice in the back of my head, and I for the longest time thought, well, not the longest time, it was probably in the last year, was just like, wait till Eric's on board. It's not gonna go. Need Eric on board for this drive, this next drive. Wait for Eric to be on board. And I'm just like, I thought it was the back of my head, and then it was just like an exploding light bulb when Eric sat down and he said, "I'm answering my call," and my mind went, "Ooh," and I was like, "That's it." It was just like that. Just that feeling, it was just like, I'm ready. And I told you, Eric, I said, I got your back, and we're hand in hand. So also made the comment that we have our numbers on speed dial, and so I love you so much, because our table may have got his nerve. We may have got on your nerve a little bit. Oh, but it was fun. It was fun. Someone said we got on your nerve, and I said, oh, I wouldn't expect anything less from me. And so I looked at him, I said, yeah, we both have our numbers, and we speed dial them. Just, but definitely glad to do it again, but definitely glad to see this next leg on the journey, and to see where it takes us. Look, I saw.
All right, well, I'm Jim Orr. I went on North Georgia Walk to Emmaus 181, second to none. Sat at the table of Matthew. I worship and serve here at Full Life Church. And this weekend, I was very honored and blessed to be on a great team, and Eric to put me at a position of gopher. I didn't know what he's sitting there twiddling his fingers, throwing me all off. We were waiting. No, I was put in a position of gopher. Eric and I have served together quite a few times. He knows that I am not one to stay in a position. I may be in dorm, and I'm helping kitchen, or I may be in kitchen and helping chapel. So when he called me for the second half of this, because January I was supposed to be kitchen, he called me and said, well, I finally figured the best position to put you. Okay. He wanted me to go ahead and do gopher. I accepted, no problem. Asked him, what do I do? He goes, I don't know, just help everybody. I said, well, that's right up my alley. So, but on this flight, I was there for send-off, and I met quite a few of the boys. Very hyped up and very much open-minded about what they were getting into, even though they were told not to anticipate. I did not get a lot of interaction with them afterwards because behind the scenes as a gopher, I stepped into something I really didn't realize until I did. I stayed moving most of the time, whether it be on property, off property. Someone would ask me to take care of something, I just got it done. Like I say, I didn't get a lot of interaction. I did see them. I did have a few meals with them. I seen a lot of joy in their face. A few of them on send-off, trying not to anticipate, they looked like they were scared, that they didn't want to be there. Then all of a sudden it changed. Like you said, once they all started getting there, they started hugging, they started interacting with each other, shaking hands with everybody. I can't tell you how many of them come up and wouldn't even shake my hand. They hugged me right off the bat. Was very honored to be there. Unfortunately, the latter part of Saturday, everybody here knows that I've had knee problems, and I had to back out Saturday afternoon. I couldn't handle it. It got too bad. And I regret it. I wish I'd have been there to the end. But sometimes you got to take that step whether you want to or not. But I was very honored and pleased to be there. I'll do it again. When I get a phone call, I'll be ready to roll. Who? Keandra. Miss Keandra?
Kind of is. Kind of hiding. Hi, my name's Keandra Priester. I went on Young Adult Chrysalis Flight 50, where I sat at the table of the WAP. That is a dance that nobody does anymore, apparently. And this weekend, I was able to be one of the assistant head kitchens. So, I was really, really nervous going into this, even though I love the kitchen, because I went to 0 meetings. So, um, never has happened. I at least get to go to 1, but I wasn't able to go to any. The second leg of this. And then, I guess while I was in Africa, I got the message that they wanted me to be a backup talk, backup youth talk. And yeah, I was trying to stay away from the conference room because I'm in there every time, and they always give me the youth or whatever. And had the person dropped, I would have been younger than the adult, so I wasn't sure how that was gonna go. But whatever. So I was blessed that I was able to stay on the kitchen team. And for me, I feel like I was more in my element. Like, I like doing behind the scenes and being able to serve and not, I don't know, like, you worry but you don't. You're just going, like, completely just going the whole time. So I enjoy that. It was a little difficult being, one, the fact that I hadn't been to any of the meetings, so I wasn't sure of everything that we had. And then we also found out that our head kitchen was leaving early, and so somebody else was stepping in. And 90% of our kitchen team were first-time servants, so there was that. And there was not that many of us to begin with, so it's a little difficult. But everyone pitched in and did what they could, and we got through it. So that was a blessing. I will say that I've never served on a team that the caterpillars were so unified. And then going to like send off and the other thing and seeing the caterpillars on their boys' flight being so unified, like, I think that was, especially now in the world where everything is trying to be ununified, what's the word? Divided, that's it. But seeing that, like on the girls' team, they weren't grouped in the people that they know, they were all one. And at closing, they were all one. Yeah. So it was a blessing getting to see that, because you don't see that on every team. There's always maybe 1 or 2 that wants to sit to the side. And at our send-off, they weren't like the boys. I thought half of y'all's caterpillars were actually like leaders. Like when they stood up, I was like, oh, okay, all right. So, and with the girls, it wasn't that way. They were more shy, and so to see that at the end of it was a very big blessing. Getting to pray over Kylie, which I'm really sad that she's not here, but getting to pray over her, and she was so nervous going into it as well. And I think the night before we were talking till like 1 or 2 in the morning, her asking me all these last minute questions, because she was going into new territory. So like, I was like, it's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. Well, I just seen this, and I don't know about this. Kylie, it's gonna be fine. God's got it. It's cool. It's gonna work out. So, like every now and then, she'd pop her head in, or I would go and check on her, and she was, oh, this is easy. Like, I love doing this. This is fine. And it was cool. So everything, it was a blessing to see. Everything was a blessing to get to see your flight come to fruition, and it's just a blessing. Everything. So
Oh, Keandra has been waiting to share a slideshow with us from Africa since she's been back. So we will get around to that soon. But, and I guess Johnny Hightower, North Georgia Men's Walk 88, Table Paul, Full Life Church. And on this weekend, I was one of the spirituals that sat at the table of Bigfoot and the Twinkle Toes. Uh-huh. So, it's a great weekend. I was a proud papa sitting back watching the weekend, and from my perch I could see everything that was going on, and I gave the first spiritual talk of the weekend, so I was through after that. But Eric, everybody that served did awesome. Okay? And I appreciate it. Justin, please. Take care. It's great. Proud of all of you. Did a wonderful, wonderful job for the weekend, and I look forward to what's next. And seeing each of you as you grow, as I see you grow up and move in God and what God's calling you to. I'm just proud to be able to sit on this side of it. I'm not going to linger here. I love all of you. I love what we're doing, what the church, and I'm excited because what happens is as y'all come back, you bring something back into the church that we can go with, that we can grow with, and that we can move on. And next Sunday, Eric will be ministering, so I look forward to that. I look forward to hearing that. Even though I apparently announced the wrong date, and I don't know how I did that. So I knew the date all along, but somehow something different came out of my mouth. So let's invite people to come be a part of it next Sunday. We got a trustees meeting here, so trustees don't leave. Everybody else is welcome to stay. But for everybody that's online, we love you. Thank you for being a part of Full Life. May God bless you, hold you, and keep you. The palm of his hand, the depths of his love and protection always. In Jesus' name, amen. Now, anybody got a prayer request? We want to keep Valerie in prayer as she's recovering. Charlotte is